Hello, everybody. My name is Amanda Vallone, and I'm one of the owners of Roseborough Travel Agency. And I'm so excited. Today, we are talking about one of my favorite destinations in the world, Alaska. And we have some really great and entertaining players to bring to this call today. Hi, Caitlin. How are you?
Hello.
Welcome to the call.
Good. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, of course, no problem. So, Caitlin, will you tell our explorers a little bit about who you are, what brand you represent, and why you love Alaska?
Absolutely. So my name is Caitlin Fitzgerald, and I am the Business Development Manager for Holland America. And I actually bring a little bit more to the table than the usual business development manager because I happen to live and work in Alaska for 4 summers for Holland America. I was a tour director on our Yukon cruise tours, so I have spent many summers running up and back through the beautiful interior of Alaska and also the Yukon territory of Canada. So I have a real passion for Alaska, and what the reason I love Alaska truly is because I am a Florida baby, born and raised. When I first went out to Alaska, it was truly unlike anywhere that I'd ever been before. The mountains, the nature, just absolutely stunning scenery, and the amount of activities that Alaska really offers visitors to, everything from halibut fishing to ice climbing to glacier kayaking. I did that all on my first visit out there, and that's what truly made me fall in love with Alaska.
I love it. Thank you so much, and thank you for being here today. Marissa, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Hello, I'm Marissa. I'm one of the advisors here at Roseborough. I'm one of the Alaska specialists here. I've been twice, and I think I had a very similar experience to Caitlin as a Florida girl going to somewhere that's just so different from what I grew up around with the mountains and the beautiful scenery. If I could go every year, I would. I don't think you would let me though, unfortunately. But it's just such a beautiful and unique place. There's always something different to do. And even me, as a not particularly outdoorsy person, loves all that you can do in Alaska.
I love that. And no, you are not allowed to go away. Caitlin, the funny thing is, when she came back, she went to her first time to Alaska on Holland America Line. And she came back and said, think I'd like to take all summers off and go live and work in Alaska. I love it
Absolutely.
there so
Yep.
much. And it was like everything we could do to chain her to the desk and say, no, you cannot leave. So
It happens to a lot of people out there, let me tell you.
I
I can
agree.
see
I
that.
agree. And several of our explorers already know this about me, but I've been to Alaska several times, and one of my previous BDMs from Holland America absolutely loved sharing the story to clients that I found out I was pregnant while I was in Skagway on one of the land cruise tour options. And we had just seen the Aurora Borealis like 2 days before that. And we had a baby girl, 8 months later at that point. And we named her Aurora after the Aurora Borealis that we saw while we were in the Yukon territory. So we definitely have a huge part in our heart for Alaska, in my household as well. I absolutely love the outdoors. I just don't get out there very often. And I love that you can do so much in Alaska, whether it's hiking or just enjoying some of the cute little shops and experiences that you can do because essentially it all opens up in the summertime. So that's a really great experience. And the wildlife, for sure. Wildlife, wildlife, wildlife for me. We want to bring the message about Alaska, what's good to see, what's good to do, why would you want to go there, what type of people should think about going to Alaska. So we have a few questions for you. Caitlin, we're going to put you on the spot a little bit, being that you have been to Alaska the most, and you represent a line that definitely brings tons of our explorers every year to Alaska. So, first and foremost, I'm interested if you can share with us What is your biggest tip or trick for somebody if they're planning their one and only time they plan to go to Alaska? What is your biggest, strongest recommendation to them?
My biggest, strongest recommendation is to absolutely get onto the land. You must visit the interior of Alaska, right? So you need to do a cruise tour. That's my number one tip or trick. I met so many people in the past that said we did the cruise only and now we're back because we have to see the land. So that is what I highly, highly recommend. And of course, you cannot miss Denali National Park with us. That is a must do. We have our very own lodge out near Denali National Park. It's less than 2 miles from the entrance. So you can stay with us for up to 3 nights. I will say that was my number one feedback from all of my guests is that they wish they had more time in Denali specifically. So as much time as you can spend in Denali, at least 2, if not 3 nights in Denali is a must do for me. And we, of course, throw in that park tour for staying with us. So you get the Tundra Wilderness Tour included on a 2 or 3 night stay. Run by the National Park Service. They will take you as far into the national park as you can possibly go, which is mile 43 right now. If you were to self-drive, you could really only get to mile 15. Otherwise, you have to be on a park tour. So it's the best way to experience that wildlife that the park is famous for. And there's even an opportunity to see the mountain from the last stop on the tour there. So there's an incredible opportunity to explore Denali with us. So that is, and it cannot be missed in my opinion. That's my number one.
I definitely agree with you on all of those things, and I have some things to add to them, but I
Of
think
course.
Marissa does too. So, Marissa, what would your number one thing when you sit down with our explorers and are talking to them about going to Alaska? What's your number one thing that you think is most important for people to take into consideration?
I agree that doing a cruise tour where you get to go inland is the most important. You really get to see so much more of Alaska when you're able to do that. Um, I was able to do a triple Denali when I was there, and it was really nice having the maximum amount of time there to do the Tundra Wilderness Tour because that took up like a whole day, and basically have 2 full days to go out and do other things. It didn't feel like 2 miles. I actually walked it from the not called the chalet anymore, but from the lodge to the entrance. Like it was but the weather was beautiful and it was so nice. And then from there, I kind of explored a little bit more. But being able to maximize their time at Denali, I think, is one of the main considerations and one of my main recommendations for people.
Definitely. I would 100% agree with that in a heartbeat. I also always like to recommend to clients who are planning to go to Alaska for their first time, um, or anytime, do the land first. Don't do the cruise first, do the land first if you can, if it works out that way. Because you're packing and unpacking and moving around on that land-based itinerary, especially if you go up into the Yukon territory. You're moving multiple times in multiple hotels. So that packing and unpacking is fine to do, and it's necessary because of how massive Alaska is to be able to get to the places that you want to go to. But by the time you're on the cruise ship, that should be when you sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. So unpacking one last time while you're on your 7 day cruise after that, or however many days the cruise is, I think is important in terms of enjoyment, just from the logistical standpoint. So for me, I like putting the land first, but 1000% agree with both of you. You got to do the land. And to add on to Caitlin's kind of suggestion of making sure you do maximize that time and what Marissa said, I also 100% agree with spending extra days in Denali if at all possible. If you can do the 3 nights in Denali, that's great. Because when I went to Denali my first time, it rained the first day. So having that second day, I was so thankful to be able to stay an additional day and go, "Oh, okay, even though it rained on one day, I have beautiful weather the second day, and it didn't kind of make my time in Denali any less. It was a really enjoyable experience. It was incredible and breathtaking. And we did get to be a part of that 20% club. and see the mountain. So, aside from Denali, what other destinations do you feel like are not to be missed? Let's talk destination specific. What's not to be missed when you're planning an itinerary to Alaska?
Absolutely. I feel like Marissa might be able to speak to the Yukon. Have you been to the Yukon before? Okay,
Yes.
so I'll leave the Yukon for you. How about I'll give you another destination that can't be missed, and that is our ultimate Alaska and Denali cruise tours. So we have three different cruise tours that we do offer with some more off the beaten path destinations. So we do go out to Alyeska, we go out to Seward, and we also go out to Homer. So those are three really unique destinations, and the Kenai Peninsula is one of my favorite parts of Alaska. That's where I first went out. I went to Seward, I rented an RV, I did all of those activities. I stayed with five friends. We are all still friends after camping in an RV for almost 2 weeks, but we did halibut fishing, ice climbing, glacier kayaking, whale watching. That is truly such a unique destination and part of Alaska. So I highly recommend Seward if you want something a little more off the beaten path and to be able to really connect to that nature. Homer, also an incredible destination. And as of next year, those tours are actually coming with tour directors on them. So they'll have a tour director with them, the entire land portion of your tour, whichever one you choose. And then we do have a really exciting partnership now with the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center. So all three of those tours will also now include a stop at the conservation center where you can, visit some of the rehabilitated wildlife from Alaska and learn all about their conservation efforts. So I think those are really fantastic and unique itineraries that I don't see very many other cruise lines offering.
I would agree. Those are really great options. 100% agree. Alyeska, I went a couple years ago and it was breathtaking there and just so differently enjoyable to the rest of the trip. It's, Alaskans vacation,
Absolutely.
vacation resort to go to. So it does feel a little bit like different and unique. And going up to the top of the mountain is so great. They've got a little gift shop up there, a bar up there. I think they have a jacuzzi up there.
There's a Nordic
Uh,
spa now at that resort too, and I've been there a couple different times. And as you mentioned, it's Alaskans vacation spot. My friends that lived in Alaska all year, that's where they would go and relax. So just a
I love
beautiful
it.
destination.
Marissa, where do you think is not to be missed? What do you think?
The Yukon is very, very interesting. I want to call it desolate, but that's not the right word. It's just kind of just
Remote.
pure, yes, remote, just pure wilderness, though. Our bus driver from Whitehorse down to Skagway played a song called Rocks and Trees. And he
Oh
said
yeah.
that it's about Canada as a whole, but it really applied to the Yukon specifically. Um, Absolutely gorgeous, just untamed, untouched wilderness. Driving through there was really neat. Dawson City is interesting, the smallest airport I've ever flown in and out of. When we landed, they were really proud that they had just paved the whatever
The
that's
runway. Yep.
called, the
Yep.
runway. Is like literally just two little trailers, one with the Mounties and one with the bathroom and everything. It's really cool being able to see a place not that different from how it was during the Klondike Gold Rush. Like everything's kind of preserved and it was like taking a step back in time. So if you're interested in that kind of era in history, I feel Yukon, but specifically Dawson City is something that you can't miss because it was like stepping back in time, like going to, is it Gold Tooth Gertie's, the
Diamond Tooth
Yeah.
Gerties. Yep.
burlesque house was really fun. It was a very interesting experience being in Dawson City and seeing that and being where the rivers come together, just kind of the combination of the historical context and just the beautiful, beautiful scenery was really nice.
Okay, so I have a question for you. Did you try the sourdough? What is it called?
Sourdough
Sourdough?
cocktail.
Cocktail.
Sourdough cocktail. Did you try it?
I did, yes. And it was not as bad as I was expecting. It has to touch your lips for it to count. And
You have to tell our explorers what you're talking about,
Oh, yes.
though.
So, yeah, some context would help, right? So at one of the places in Dawson City, they have a preserved, like mummified human toe in alcohol. And if you
Yep.
do the sourdough cocktail, they pour you alcohol from there and they put the toe in it. You do a shot and you actually have to touch. Yeah,
Yeah.
the toe has to touch your mouth, your lips for it to count.
And if it
And
doesn't, they do watch and they'll make it touch your lips. But yeah, it's actually they do it with Yukon Jack, so it's a honey whiskey made in the Yukon, and it's very delicious, I find. And I'm a three-time member myself, so yeah.
I love that for both of you. I'm actually really jealous too. Marissa knows I am one of those people who will try the most random, disgusting things around the world. But as I said before, I found out I was pregnant 2 days later. I knew I was pretty much so knew I was pregnant. So I wasn't taking shots on that trip.
Well, you gotta go back.
But
That's what it is.
right. So I was like, every single person I talked to about this, I said, you have to go and try this. You try it once. 3 times? You're a 3-time member of that, Caitlin?
Yeah, I did it once a year pretty much. I didn't do it this last summer because I feel like after three times, you kind of know the drill.
Yeah. I
So.
love it. I love it. That's great. I would agree with the Yukon Territory as well. We did a lovely walking tour in Dawson that was run by the Historic Society. It was just a random day that we walked down, and there was a Historic Society walking tour, literally to the point that they would show us some old saloons and everything that people would pay for their drinks in gold dust. So they said when they go underneath the buildings, a lot of times they were able to find gold dust in the floorboards and everything. That kind of stuff is so interesting to me to be able to really walk through, and it does feel like, as Marissa said, like you're walking through time and going back to an era that it really does feel like it's all still within the gold rush era. So I love that.
Yeah, and if I could add on, just because, I lived and worked through the Yukon for those summers, it is just unlike any place I've truly ever been before. It was that, boom town during the 1898 gold rush. Today, it's still an active mining town. So, if you watch the television program Gold Rush, a lot of my guests were familiar with Tony Beats. That's where he lives, so you can see his crew still walking around town. That's where they're doing their gold mining still. And as of this summer, we started including a gold rush tour or gold fields tour on all of our itineraries out there. So now guests will have a tour out to where the gold was first initially discovered in Bonanza Creek. And then they'll also have a guided tour of Gold Dredge number 4, which is run by Parks Canada. So they get to go on the dredge, learn all about how they used to dredge. They still learn about placer mining now. It's really, really interesting, and it really connects our guests even deeper to that gold rush history. It's just such a unique place.
So what, kind of jumping over, so we've talked about where we would go. We talked about what not to miss. We talked about how to do it. What do you think is the most surprising thing to most of your travelers and guests? That they went in with a preconceived notion and they were completely changed their mind when they went.
I would say for one, they expect Alaska to be freezing cold, all the time, right? And I think they're really surprised to find that in the summer, especially that peak true summer season, uh, I would say maybe mid-June through July, it's actually very, very warm. I can be in, Fairbanks, Alaska in a short sleeve shirt and be sweating. So I think the seasons really shock people out there because you do have that springtime season. So that's like May through early June. That's my favorite time to be there personally because you have the young, active wildlife waking up from their sleepy winter. It's beautiful, usually a little bit cooler still, but there is that true, true summer. I think they're also shocked to find that the sun really doesn't set in the summer. So it does kind of feel like it's at most dusk. So at 10 p.m., they're still able to go and have a golf excursion. They can have a tea time at 10 p.m. So that's surprising for them. But I think the fact that the weather isn't constantly freezing in Alaska and that it's actually quite enjoyable. I think the average temperature is about 70 throughout the summer.
Is there anything that you feel like, Marissa, and when people are planning their trips to Alaska, that they come in with an idea, and oftentimes you find that their mind gets changed after they go, or information that you share with them is different?
I think like everyone knows that Alaska is the biggest state, but I think sometimes until you're there, you don't get a feel for how truly how big it is. Like if you're taking the train from Denali down to either Whittier or Seward, like it's a good 9 hour train ride still. So just the scale kind of throws people off sometimes, and I would say when I went with my group and when I was telling them about the White Pass rail, I think they went into it thinking it was going to be like a normal train ride. And even like when we were finished, they said it was the most interesting and like breathtaking train ride they've ever been on. Like when some people hear train, you think of Amtrak or things like that, not the kind of scenic rail where you're kind of overlooking like a valley in the mountains, that kind of scenic railroad, I don't think people are expecting sometimes.
I would
I would
absolutely agree with that.
agree.
Just to add on really quickly, I think that it's one of the things I love about Alaska too. I should have said this at the start, but I think a lot of people are really surprised by the scale of Alaska. And I heard so many different times how it made them feel just so small, but and how the world is just such an incredibly large, beautiful place. So that's something that people always took away too, is just the scale and just how, I mean, I get chills talking about it still. There's just something so magical about Alaska.
I definitely agree with that. Caitlin, this might be putting you on the spot. Marissa talked a little bit about size and scale,
Hmm.
and you just kind of added on to that and elaborated with it. Do you know the statistics of how large Alaska is compared to other states in the US? Do you have those?
I have one of them, which is that it's 2.5 times the size of Texas. I know that. So that's just thinking about that. And they do make little t-shirts in Alaska that have the map of Alaska, and then they put the state of Texas inside of it, and they say, "Isn't Texas cute?" So that's kind of like a fun little rivalry they have. But it is, I think Alaska is over 660,000 square miles. So it's just huge.
And that's why when talking to our cruise line vendors and partners, we always talk about cruise tours because the cruise ship can only get you so far, and there's so much land to see, and you have so many sights to see, so much wildlife to see that you really do need to have that land package added on to give yourself a really extraordinary experience. I definitely agree with both of you on that. I think that they're really good. And yeah, I have pictures of myself in Alaska in short sleeve shirts and we're hiking and we're sweating,
Oh,
and that is they always say dress like an onion, layer, 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 because in the mornings it's going to be chilly and in the afternoon when the sun's out it's going to be nice. And even, at nighttime when when the sun hasn't completely set, it's still nice outside. I love it when it stays light for so long. So, in terms of amount of time people should plan to spend in Alaska, what is your recommendation? How long should we plan to go for?
I always say whenever you have the most time to really enjoy it, right? The maximum amount of time you can spend there is still not going to feel like enough, I find. I mean, if you can take at least a week on the land to really enjoy the land, I would say that's like the starting point. And then the cruise, that's can go from 7 days. We also do have those shorter cruise lengths for 3 or 4 days with our cruise tours. So I think whenever you have the most time to really enjoy it is the best time to go because you're going to feel like you could spend way more time there than really what you end up booking. That was always, the feedback is that we wish we had more time in Denali, but also in general.
I would definitely agree. I think that the longer time that you can spend, the better. My first time I went to Alaska, we did a 7 night cruise, and that was
Mhm.
it. And we thought we were going and we were checking off Alaska on our list. And right away, as soon as we got off of that cruise, we thought, we have to go back. We have to go to Denali. So when you're going into it planning, don't just check the destination off your list. You want to make sure you spend enough time really focusing on the destination and making sure that you are getting the full experience on that land package. So I agree, at least a week on land for sure.
You can't really go wrong, but I feel a lot of retirees are able to go to Alaska, so they can take the time to spend like basically 2 weeks doing a week on the land and a week on the cruise. I would love to do that, but I would say like a nice sweet spot is maybe like 11 days. So the 7-day cruise and maybe 3 or 4 days on the land. You're still not getting the full, you're not maximizing it exactly, but you really can't go wrong in Alaska because it's such a beautiful place. But like 10, 11, 12 days is also like if you have more limited time, you can still see a lot in that week and a half.
We talked a little bit about the train, but let's go into a little bit more detail on what train experiences there are, because it's not just one train experience. So, Caitlin, can you go into a little bit on the experience on board the train? What does it look like, feel like, and why would somebody want to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So on our cruise tours through Denali, we actually include a ride on the McKinley Explorer as a means of transit either to or from Denali National Park, depending on cruise first, land first, which itinerary you're booking, but it is an included mode of transport. And it's our very own privately owned rail cars, and they operate on the historic Alaska Rail. So they're double decker, they are glass domed rails. So our guests actually sit on the upper level, and this is an entire day trip. So you'll leave in the morning and you get into Denali or vice versa, just about 5 o'clock in the evening. So it is a full day that our guests are experiencing this train. But they do sit on the upper level. They have those wonderful views, that glass dome as they're going through the scenery. But they also have a bartender and a narrator who are in their train car with them the entire day. They will keep them entertained with stories and little facts about the areas that we're going through. And they will also keep them hydrated because that bartender does have a full service bar with them. And then the lower level will have a dining car that's built in where you can purchase breakfast or lunch. And there's always an open air viewing platform on our train cars as well. So guests can step outside, they can enjoy that stunning mountainous scenery, get some fresh air. And I always had this question. It was one I thought was weird, but I got it time and time again. There are bathrooms on the train. I don't want anyone to panic. There are restrooms on the train as well. But because it's our very own train cars, we are able to, really ensure that not only is the train fully accessible, but all of our modes of transport on our cruise tours are fully accessible. So there are lifts equipped in our trains to both levels. And then there's also lifts in our motor coaches. So I do want to say that it is just a great destination to travel to as a multi-generational family because everyone can truly enjoy not only the whole cruise tour, but this train ride specifically. It's just such a stunning train ride. I have fully seen Denali out for the entire train ride. It's just absolutely beautiful.
I love that you brought up accessibility. My mom's in
Mhm.
a wheelchair. She's been in a wheelchair practically my whole life. And she has been to Alaska multiple times with me. And that is one of the things that makes it so great because we've gone with grandparents and grandchildren. We've gone multi-gen on an Alaska cruise tour multiple times now. And being able to know, she calls it, is it Kathy friendly if she can go in her wheelchair? And that we can bring the wheelchair into the train and have that whole experience is always wonderful. So I love that you brought that up. Thank you. All right, maybe last but not least, can we talk about wildlife? What kind of wildlife are we going to see when we go to Alaska?
Yeah, so we do have the land big five. So we do have the moose, caribou, we have the bear, of course, we have the gray wolf, moose, caribou. I'm gonna do this to myself. I'm gonna completely forget. It is gray wolf, moose, caribou, bear, and what am I forgetting?
Dull
Dull
Dull.
sheep.
sheep, dull sheep. That's the whole reason that Denali National Park was actually created was to protect the dull sheep. So that's what we're looking for on the land. Those are the big five animals. But I've seen, oh my gosh, I've seen the craziest things. I've seen lynx, I've seen fox, I've seen lots of birds. There's a lot of birding, of course, eagles. So that's what you're on the lookout for on the land side of things. And then, of course, on the ocean, they also have their big five, and I'm gonna completely forget. I know it's the Steller sea lion, the otter, the gray whale, the humpback whale, and the orca. I think I did it. Yeah, there we go. So that's what you're looking for, really. Just wildlife constantly.
Now, you say wildlife constantly. Few things we can ever promise is weather and
That's true.
wildlife, right?
That's
But
true.
what is, I mean, really, what's the likelihood? We have the possibility to see those things, and you've seen
Of
them because you
course.
live there. But as a traveler going for 1 week on land and 1 week at sea, let's just say 1 week land, 1 week cruise, really, how much wildlife should I expect to see? Should I expect to see it daily, every other day, or once on the cruise? What do you feel like is the most that what most experiences offer?
I mean, I think it completely differs from group to group, which is, throughout the summer, there's different levels of activity for the animals. That's why I was saying I love that springtime because they are waking up from that winter. You're going to see bears foraging. They're looking for those, treats and the flowers that are blooming. They're eating those dandelions. As you said, you can't guarantee wildlife, right? It's not a zoo, so you don't for sure know that anything's going to be there. But I've had groups that see wildlife daily. I've had groups that have been a little bit less fortunate than that, but really, truly, you can't predict when you're going to experience anything. So you can just turn a corner and see wildlife. On the cruise ships, especially, I think that's the best is that you just constantly be on the lookout. I was always in the hot tub. I was always looking for wildlife from the hot tub. That was my favorite spot. I saw orcas right when we were in Glacier Bay. So really, there's just phenomenal opportunity at every single moment to see wildlife. But it's, of course, as you said, not guaranteed.
I agree with you. I think that going in the beginning of the season is really my favorite time to go as well because you do feel like they're all waking up. It kind of makes me feel like like a movie almost. Everything's fresh and clean and waking up and coming out and coming alive and it's a really great experience. And for me, I love wildlife. That is one of my favorite things to travel and seek out. So I think that Alaska is a phenomenal destination specifically because of that, but for great many other reasons. But yeah, I think hitting the right time of year, making sure that you're going and knowing the itinerary that you're going on too, because obviously you have land, you're going to spend extra time in Denali. Denali is really where you're going to get a lot of that wildlife, right? So having that experience, even though we stayed in, it might have been Alyeska that we had a moose on the loose, and I had a moose within a very, very close proximity to me. So you definitely have wildlife in other places as well. But I definitely think focusing around Denali is important when you're looking for the wildlife. Um, and then, yes, of course, while you're at sea, having some of those experiences as well. Can we talk about excursions really quick? Do you have a favorite must-do excursion or thing to do while you're on the cruise portion?
On the cruise portion, Marissa, I'll let you take this over because I was on land.
Ooh, I mentioned it before, the White Pass Railroad from Skagway is, I think, something that you can't miss. It is such an interesting experience being on like the vintage style train cars. And Caitlin, you can correct me if I'm wrong. It partially follows the path of the Chilkoot,
You are
um,
great. Yep.
like stampeders. I forget what they're called.
Yeah, so it was the route of the Stampeders. They built it at the height of the gold rush, as a way to carry gold to and from or from Dawson City, actually. So you are right. Yeah.
It's another part of being kind of involved in the history of the region, and the scenery is just breathtaking. Like there's a part where you go over a train trestle and there's just nothing on one side of the track. It just clear down who knows how many hundreds of feet. I was on the outdoor viewing platform at that time and I had to duck back in because I'm a little afraid of heights. But it was just such an interesting and unique experience being on a train like that, going into that kind of landscape and being able to feel like you're part of the history of the region.
One that I knew was popular, we were just talking about wildlife from Juneau, that's world renowned for whale watching. So I know a lot of guests want to see that wildlife. Of course, never guaranteed, but they can take a whale watching excursion from Juneau. And a lot of the tour providers are so confident that you'll see a whale that they do actually offer a money back guarantee. So while we can't guarantee, there is, some guarantee you'll get your money back if you don't see something. So that's a great opportunity too.
I wanted to go back to what Marissa was saying because, um, and like Caitlin, as you said, you were on land, you were a land-based operator. But what is great is the excursion that she brought up is either accessible via the land component, or if you're doing the cruise component, you can access it that way as well, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we actually do include the White Pass and Yukon Rail, which is actually, that surprisingly is the number one rated attraction in all of Alaska. It's not surprising once you've been on it, right? I think that Marissa would now agree. But I think when you think of Alaska, that's not something that really resonates with a lot of people right off the bat because it's really, I think, a little bit more unknown until you do experience it. But it is included on our Yukon cruise tours as either a shore excursion before you get on your cruise ship, or right when you're off your cruise ship, depending if you're staying in Skagway for that day, or we include it as a means of transport out of Skagway. So you'll get to take that train all the way to pretty much the border of Canada. So you'll get off, your tour director will meet you, you get on a bus, and then you clear customs, and on your way you go down to Whitehorse. So it is really a wonderful excursion. I hear fantastic things. I've been on it myself. It was that actually built, I think I said earlier, during that 1898 gold rush, but it's been operating ever since. So those train cars are either replica or restored original train cars. So it's really, really an amazing experience, just a narrow gauge rail with stunning scenery, as Marissa has said a couple different times. So I love that response from you that that's your favorite excursion, but also just it's a great train ride as well.
Well, ladies, it was fantastic talking to you today. If you have anything else you feel like our explorers should know about, now's the time. Will you share any last minute statements? And then we have a little introduction to what's coming up. So, will you share any last minute tips for our explorers?
I would say do it. If you're thinking about it, do it. Alaska is for everybody.
I love
That was
that.
going to be my response as well. You just gotta go. It's a bucket list trip for so many people, but I think at the same time too, it's somewhere that you can go time and time again, and there's something new to explore every single time. And just go and experience it. And I hope you love it as much as we all do, right?
I agree. I am a third for that. I think go with your parents, go with your kids, go with your grandkids, go with your partner, go with your friends. However you need to go, however long you can go, take advantage of your time and go there. It is phenomenal. So I 100% agree with both of you. You did a great job sharing your love for Alaska. Thank you so much. Now, I am super excited to share Alaska with our explorers even more so. And we're partnering with Holland America Line to host a special event called Onstage Alaska on February 18th. Caitlin, would you mind sharing just a little bit about what the Onstage Alaska event will be like?
Absolutely. So a little bit more about me is that I actually spent 2 years as an onstage Alaska presenter. So I used to put these events on myself. So if you come join, you will have two Alaska experts who live and work in Alaska in the summer. They're my old coworkers, and they're going to be giving about a 45-minute presentation. They're going to talk about a lot of the things that you might still be wondering about Alaska, as well as the different Alaska cruise and cruise tour options that you can take with Holland America. It's really fun, it's really informative, and I just highly recommend you come out and learn more.
We invite you, our explorers, to join us on Wednesday, February 18th You can click within this Roseborough page, this landing page that you landed on for this video to get more information about the event as well as RSVP for it. Be sure to RSVP for the event so that we save your seat because I have hosted on Stage Alaska many times in the past and it fills up fast. It is fun, it's entertaining, it's educational, and you have lots of great promotions and deals going on at the event too, don't you?
We sure do. And a special promotion just for attending.
So, on behalf of our whole team at Roseborough Travel, thank you, explorers, for joining us today. Caitlin, Marissa, thank you for coming on and sharing your love for Alaska. And we look forward to seeing you at Onstage Alaska. All right, explorers, thank you so much for joining us today on this Let's Talk Travel Alaska edition. I hope that we were able to bring to you our joys and love for Alaska, and that you know that it is a big destination. And as you know, 2.5 times the size of Texas big, but the experience will last a lifetime. The experience will run deep within your heart and soul, and it will hopefully be something that you talk about for generations to come. Hopefully, you'll have the opportunity to go with your friends and family to this incredible destination. And I thank you so much for joining us today. On behalf of Roseborough Travel, we look forward to helping you plan your next Alaska vacation.